that it's all black. It is a marginalized community, but it has a lot of potentials for growth and development, and it's really a diamond in the rough in terms of investment that can happen in the future. So Roseland, yeah, Roseland. I grew up in Roseland in a black neighborhood. I went to grammar school for 8 years in Roseland, and it was all black. So that is that's how I would sum up Roseland in itself. But I live in Inglewood now, and Inglewood is exactly like Roseland. It's just on 63rd, and Roseland is on 100th Street. So it is just a little bit further south. But Inglewood is another story of disinvestment that follows the black people in the United States. And I grew up in that space as well as I went to high school, but I have a particular interest in developing both Roseland and Inglewood and neighborhoods all over the world that have faced neglect and faced marginalization in their communities based on the people that live there. And so a lot of marginalization follows black people. And so that's why I have such a large interest in Roseland Inglewood.
Do you know the history of Roseland?
No, no, actually, I will tell you, I don't know the history. What's the history of Roseland?
Okay, because I grew up in Old Guild Gardens, which is housing project, and it is south of Roseland. As a matter of fact, south of when you leave Old Guild Gardens, you're going into Indiana.
Mm.
So I remember Roseland. Roseland community was a Polish community. Uh, and when you were saying about disinvestment after, I think probably in the 80s is when it started changing, and when black people started moving into Roseland, and the Polish community moved out of Roseland and moved either into the southern suburbs, or they moved into the northern part of Chicago. Also, in the Roseland community is within it is the Pullman community, and that's where the Pullman porters, they were on the trains, the black porters on the trains. That's where they came from, the Pullman neighborhood, which was within the Roseland neighborhood.
It's actually ridiculous. It's ridiculous that I'm learning this now, especially after 8 years of living in Roseland. I grew up in Roseland around the time, my brother was about to go to Finger Academy because it was around 2007, 2008 when a black boy got killed getting hit by a 2x4 at Finger Academy. And it set the stage for how people decided the south side of Chicago was going and how Roseland was going, how high schools were going in that neighborhood. And so for me, it was a big deal to be able. I saw Roseland as some place I needed to get out, and it's sad that it has a large amount of history that's related to white people. Yeah.
Yeah, look it up. Look it up. Actually, it's a fascinating history. Um, and as a matter of fact, right now, parts of it, I think, is going to be designated as landmarks,
Wow.
especially the part where the Pullman area is. And that's along um, Cottage Grove, 111th, and all around in there.
Mm.
So yeah, just kind of look it up. It's very interesting. So let's talk about Inglewood. And I know people from all over the world, probably, and especially all over the United States, have heard, and still hear of all kinds of negative things
Mm.
uh, in Inglewood, in Chicago, Illinois. Even today, there was something on the news where a policewoman was shot. um, at a traffic stop or something in Inglewood, So what's happening in Inglewood? Give us some positive things that's going on
Mhm.
in Inglewood, in that community, and your role.
Mm. Well, there's a lot of amount of investment that's happening in Inglewood, and there's a lot of community partners that are within Inglewood that try to develop the community and change the narrative that has been set in that community. We have Rage. Rage is a not for profit in Inglewood, in the Inglewood neighborhood that I'm a part of, that does a lot of programs and reinvest in the Inglewood neighborhood. We just had a conversation about the fact that the Whole Foods in Inglewood was recently closed, or it's going coming up to closing, and just talking about how do we plan out a plan to continue grocery or different types of business development in that neighborhood. And so there's Inglewood has a lot of community partners that's going on. There's also Urban Prep Charter Academy that I went to. It does a lot for Black men and telling them that there is a different narrative in that neighborhood, and that's something that played a huge role in my life. Just realizing, okay, there's a different narrative that can be set regardless of the media that is portrayed around where I'm growing up and where what my community is. So there's yeah. So there's a lot of investment that's happening in Inglewood. However, it just has a large story of disinvestment. A lot like Roseland. I think there's something funny about Inglewood is that there's Inglewoods around the world. There's Inglewoods in California. There's Inglewoods in Chicago. There's probably Inglewoods in different neighborhoods. However, as they become more black, they continue to develop a narrative that they should be disinvested in. They continue to be form a narrative that they are more violent. And I think that uh, those same neighborhoods are gold mines. Those same neighborhoods, because they've been disinvested in, they're positioned for new business opportunities and new development opportunities. And I think that is a big opportunity for Black people too, especially coming from their background and their historical marginalization, to be able to find themselves grounded in these communities, regardless of the disinvestment. They'll be able to make historical change, and so that's something that I'm looking forward to. In neighborhoods like Inglewood, like Roseland, is the fact that people have been neglecting these communities, and the fact that people have decided to call them violent, because in the end of the day, they have so much space, they have so much opportunity, and they have people living there that want to spend money. And the Black dollar, it travels fast, it travels large. And so I'm excited to see when the development starts to happen in these communities and we start to bring our dollars back to ourselves.
Okay. So, so what do you do as an individual? Really, I really want to know what do you do as an individual? You talk about the issues and what's going on, but I know that you are a community activist. So, what is your role? What do you do?
Mm. What do I do in communities? So I'm actually an accountant. I work for RSM. I've been working in accounting for the last year or 3 years. 2 years I've been working at RSM. But in terms of what I do in the community, I I I run a not for profit. It's called
Oh,
Gambit. Yeah. It's
it's
called
called
Gambit.
what?
It's called Gambit. Gambit is what it's
Oh,
called. It's called Gambit because the word Gambit comes from chess, and it means to take a position to gain the advantage. And it's usually a risky position that you take to gain the advantage. And we decided to call me and a couple other founders decided to call Gambit its name because we love to sow. and I've been a solo for I've been a solo for about 7 years, and we really want to start a sewing company that makes tailored clothes. But the reason why we called it Gambit is because we had to break down our clothes and take clothes that we bought from commercial entities, right? Commercial companies that they sell you commercially available. This is a medium, this is a large, this is a small. And we decided to take those and put them on a sewing machine, and they could come out bad, they could come out good, but ultimately when they come out good, they come out beyond what's commercially available, and that gave us an advantage beyond what was available in stores. And I think that that's a big deal for Black people, because especially Black men coming from marginalized backgrounds, because they seek to show ways to show that they have developed. They want to show that they've progressed because they've been positioned outside of the door. And a lot of the times they do that through clothes, they do that through shoes. And to be able to sew and design your own shoes to gain right the advantage is a way is a big deal for people, and you have to take a risk to do that. You have to break down something that people decide to live their lives comfortably and with. So that it's a big risk. So we called it Gambit. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so what you wanted to teach men how to sew? Is that what it is? Or how?
Right, and so that's the reason. Yeah, that's the reason we call Gambit. But the reason what Gambit does is it provides sewing and instructional programs to teach people how to sew, and especially targeting people from marginalized backgrounds where they don't have the financial backing to buy the Gucci and the
Oh,
so we can, but to teach them how to sew, they can position themselves to be unique regardless. And and so that's what we try to teach. We've been teaching a summer sewing program in partnership with After School Matters and Urban Prep Inglewood campus for the last 2 years. The first year we did it virtually, and the second year we did it in person. And it's been a great opportunity for people on the South Side. It's a great.
wow. That's something I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's not for profit. So I'm sure you're always looking for sponsors and for donations and all.
correct. We're always looking for sponsors, donations. We are looking to continue to give people more opportunities to break the barrier of commercialization, to break past um, economic instability, and to be able to just do beyond what people have thought you're not capable of, just by vertically integrating in certain industries. So yeah. So that is what Gambit does. Right now we do sewing programs, but I love to. Right now we're trying to make Gambit an official non-for-profit so that we can do tax. I would like to teach taxes. I like to teach taxes in certain communities and get Black people interested in learning how to prepare taxes in their own community neighborhood. So
Oh, really? So uh, that's that's interesting. That's but before we go into that, because I want to do that, talk about taxes, and and your ideas about that just a little later. But something that I also learned about you, didn't you used to be in TV?
oh yes, yes, I did used to be in TV. I used yeah. TV was fun. I actually worked in the accounting industry in at the Chicago Cinespace Film Studios. So it's called Cinespace Chicago Film Studio, and it is actually the largest studio. I believe it's larger than Hollywood now. It
Really?
might be, or it's second, or it's competing. So yeah,
Chicago?
correct, right here in Chicago, and I think it's a big deal because Black people are very involved with the entertainment space, very involved in film, but they don't really know the opportunity right in Chicago. People in the neighborhoods that is directed towards film right in the neighborhood. But they do a program where they solicit two marginalized people, black people and minorities, Latinx, and a lot of different people that come from marginalized backgrounds. And that is called the Cinecares Foundation. And they provide a Cinecares internship where you partner with a TV show to do an intern program. And if you're ever interested in that, I could probably position you to do that. So, reach out to me, hit me up on LinkedIn if you're interested in going to the film industry in Chicago. But that is what they do. I worked for Chicago PD, the TV show. I was there with Leroyce Hawkins, Mr. Atwater, the Detective Atwater, and different people doing from the accounting perspective. And it was a really big opportunity for me. That was my first job back in Chicago after graduating from college.
So were you ever in front of the camera?
You know what? They actually did do a small. I was in front of the camera, and I was in a truck in the background. So I wasn't. I was. I was actually. They had me drive a truck, and they recorded me driving this truck, and they took a picture of me while I was driving a truck, and it was used as a picture of investigative evidence by one of the detectives in a scene. So if you haven't found that episode, your code, send me that. But that is a particular thing that I was involved in.
So did you watch it and say, wait, there I am, right there?
I wish I did, but I definitely still watched it because when you're working for a film or TV show, you feel like you need to know about the show. You feel like you need to be a professional. So as soon as I started watching the show, I mean, I've always been a fan of Law and Order. My mom loves Law and Order, but as soon as I started working for the show, I was like, okay, I need to know everything about the show. I need to be updated with the episodes, and so I started to really get involved, and I've stayed. It's a good show. I love Chicago PD, but they have a lot of other shows also at CineSpace, and it's a really good opportunity for Black people. I know a lot of Black people are interested in entertainment or just even creating a network of people that are in a certain industry because you have a entrepreneurship spirit related to that industry, and so you want to get in that field. In terms of entertainment, getting involved with CineSpace is a great opportunity. So I definitely encourage you to do so.
Okay, so before you go, I want your contact information. I can run it across the bottom of the screen,
Okay.
and that way, if anybody wants to get into television and they're in Chicago or close, they can hit you up, and you can tell them all about how to be on TV. As a matter of fact, I probably would hit you up. See how to be on TV.
Yeah,
so I have a question here that came in, and it said, the question says, you have mentioned being marginalized several times, but could you give us a clearer definition of what that means?
What does it mean to be marginalized? And what does it mean for me? Well, I'm a Black man. And when we think about the history of America, I don't know if I paused or not. Did I pause? Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
My bad. Yes. It looks like I had to connect my laptop in.
Yeah, no, you were on full screen.
Okay, great.
So
wow. Oh, okay, mine.
Just keep talking. You are
okay. Okay, sounds good. So, I mean, being a Black man, being Black people, it is, what it means to be marginalized. America brought Black people to, well, what it means to be marginalized for Black people. I'm coming from the perspective of a Black person. You can be marginalized in a lot of different areas. You can be marginalized because you are a different sex or you're older in a group of young people and they start to position themselves like they have authority or some type of advantage over you because, or they should not connect with you as people of coming from the necessity of being social, right? They don't want to connect with you because you're different from the others. Black people coming to America, we were positioned to not be able to learn how to read. It was illegal to read. We were positioned to work for free in America, and a lot of these different things have created effects on my mom and me and my grandfather, and the way that the communities that I live in and the opportunities of those communities, right? Being not being able to read. I tell a lot of people sometimes because I'm an accountant, right? I read and learn and try to connect things for a living. However, coming from a background where reading scores are low. I got a 16 on the ACT, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities to help me to really position myself to be prepared for that, for standardized testing, because we've been, I mean, for example, HBCUs. The reason HBCUs existed, HBCUs were created in the 1880s, and they were created in the 1880s during Jim Crow, when it was illegal for black and white people to be in the same spaces. It was a segregated society. And so, I mean, sometimes some HBCUs were created so that they weren't around white people and they had black people coming out of a position of being of reading being illegal to then learn and teach themselves while not ever learning how to read, right? Or people might have learned, but they were positioned after 200 years of not reading, and they were segregated from the people who did know how to read. And a lot of these different people had, black people in general, if they didn't go to HBCU, they had to struggle with not knowing how to read. And now I do accounting, but I faced a lot of the pitfalls of not having family members that could retain certain education benefits, certain education opportunities. They couldn't retain certain employment opportunities, position themselves to even then teach me to be more effective in certain literacy environments. So that's a topic of marginalization that happens to a lot of black people. We have a book called Bad Boys. I suggest you probably look that one up. But Bad Boys is a book that talks about how a lot of people from marginalized black backgrounds, especially black boys, they are called bad boys in schools and not good boys, right? They're not school boys, they're bad boys, to start to pipeline them to the prison system. So it's a lot of different things. It's a lot of different things about being marginalized. Of course, you could talk all day about it, but it's really about people being from backgrounds where they have been outcasted or put in a position to be exploited against, in a certain capacity, in a space where we're sharing space, and people continue to share space. We are social beings. We need to share space. So once we exploit people, those people have effects, but they continue to have to share that space. So it's interesting. But that's what I would call marginalization.
Okay. Thank you so much. I have a comment here from Sarah Crawley. She says she has an investor, and if you have 25 acres in Inglewood or Roseland, call me to discuss their interests.
Interesting.
Very
Interesting.
interesting.
How
Thank you.
much feet is an acre? I wish I knew. That sounds like a lot of acres. Ain't 25 acres a lot of acres?
25 acres. Wow. I know that's a lot. I don't know what, but
Yeah. I'm gonna try to do that. I'm gonna try to figure it out though. Well, that's a good goal I can set for myself.
okay.
That's a
So
lot
what
of.
we're gonna do, Joseph, I love your last name, Olalusi. Uh, um, I'm gonna go on just a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk with you about something that I know it's extremely close to your heart, and that's taxes. And why you think taxes are so important, and just give us your where you're coming from
Mm,
as far as the taxation system is concerned.
mm.
Okay?
I love it. I'm gonna see you soon. I'm looking forward to that question.
Okay. So we will be right back with Joseph Olalusi. Well, we are back with Joseph Olalusi. Now, if you liked the promos and the ads that you just saw, we do them in-house with Feet on the Ground Entertainment. And you can reach us at lowski2lopan@gmail.com. I will put it on the lower third just a little later, just so that if you're interested in getting some promos for your business, for whatever it is that you're doing, you can contact us. So let's get back to Mr. Joseph Olalusi. Love Olalusi.
The Dr. Fortman, thank you so much again. I love the ad intermission. It was amazing. I just love how professional this is.
Well, what did you think?
Mm,
So wait a minute. For you who don't know, Joseph, I met Joseph through Toastmasters International. Joseph is a member of my Toastmasters International Club. It's called
mhm.
MJM Speaker Circle. And if you would love to learn how to speak, be in a leadership role, improve your communication skills, and just to help you along your personal and your professional life and with your relationships, join MJM Speaker Circle. And I'll put that in the lower third a little later too. So
Mhm.
Joseph, why are taxes important to you? Tell me all about it.
Taxes. I don't know why everybody doesn't get excited about taxes, but I do. I love taxes. Um, One thing I like to tell people when I start talking about taxes is that taxes it's so old that David fought Goliath in the Bible. He fought Goliath. One of the reasons was so he didn't have to pay taxes no more. It was he could be exempt from taxes, but when you think about it, that's how old taxes are. What I like to say is that taxes is the first. It's the first idea of social investment or community investment, investment between people that share a shared space, and they want to buy and invest in things that they couldn't grab, or it would take too long to grab on their own. And so that is what taxes allows us to do. And it's been different forms of tax systems throughout the age of humanity. It's always been taxes. It's always been different rationales, and how can we position ourselves together to create this for ourselves or create this new boundary in a shared space that we have together. I think that taxes means a lot to me, coming from Roseland, coming from Inglewood, because we have communities that have been disinvested in. We have communities where we didn't have a library, we didn't have a closed bookshelf to just see, we didn't have different resources, we didn't have calculus. Why didn't we have calculus? We only went up to pre-calculus, right? So it was a lot of different areas coming from Roseland, Inglewood, coming from backgrounds that are marginalized, where you position yourself like, why wasn't my community invested in? And once you start talking about community investment, and the funding that goes around that, you're talking about taxes. I learned about that going to college. I originally went to college studying applied economics and management because I wanted to, because people talk about economics as how money works, and maybe if I could study resources and money, then I could figure out why my community didn't have books. And I went to college around that, but once I eventually went there, I learned about taxes, and I was like, oh, that's what that's around. That is what brings it's a bit more responsible in bringing the books to my high school, and the doctors or the special people that I need, the healthcare physicians, the mental health workers, to the different spaces and communities that I grew up in. Taxes is a big deal. I grew up in a background also where I do my mom's taxes, I do my auntie's taxes, right? I do a lot of my family's taxes. Being in accounting now, I worked in accounting for 2 or 3 years, um, but that's what shows how important it taxes are that important to people. And I think it's interesting that we learn calculus in school, but we don't learn how to do taxes in school, because that's one thing that we have to do taxes every year. You don't
Yes.
have to. You might not have to do a derivative, but you have to do taxes every year. So it's interesting.
So, okay. Now, do you see that poor people or middle class people pay more in taxes than, let's say, um, uh, the Fortune 500
Mm,
big corporations? So, who is, in your opinion, the burden of taxes? Who has that,
mm,
in your opinion?
man, I mean, I understand the middle class struggle. Middle class people. There's a lot more middle class people, but the tax system, it after a certain tax bracket, it phases out and it stays at the same. So the way the tax system works is based on the amount of income you make, you are taxed at a certain level. If you make 20,000, you're taxed at 5%. If you make 50,000, you're taxed at 7%. If you make 75,000, you're taxed at 10%, and so on. But at 20,000 and up, or 250,000, 250,000, 300,000 and up, then everybody's just paying 15% tax, right? And or set
You know, I
20%.
didn't know that. So, in other words, okay, so 15% is like the cap. So if you're making like a couple of $100,000, you're paying 15% of that. And if you're making a couple of million, you're paying 15% of that. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And so because of that, people who are millionaires, people at 5%, they still have to just pay as much taxes as the people, a lot of the people that make 300,000, 200,000, and it may seem like, okay, that's not wrong until a large amount of people that have been marginalized and worked hard to get into middle class, right? Um, become in that standard, and they the millionaires still have to pay at the same rate.
But
So
it's a
that is
difference if you're paying 15% of a million, and when you talk about purchasing power or spending,
mm,
and a person who is paying 15% at 100 and something thousand.
right. It hits different. It over the course of that year, it burdens that person at a different level. That person that is a millionaire versus that person that is 100,000, 200,000 in. And so yeah, so I understand how people are disgruntled about how one percenters are positioned because there is no it doesn't continue to exponentially increase, or it just increase in a way in the tax bracket system, so that people who are millionaires are taxed at a higher level. But and it should. I one time Governor J.B. Pritzker tried to install that in Illinois. I think it was called the fair tax, and it was turned down. What you would learn about that is that a lot of Republicans, they marketed to not have they positioned that tax policy to not pass. They positioned it so that people could feel like, oh, this is not for me from a low income or marginalized background, when in fact it was. So it was interesting, if you want to research that. But the fair tax is an interesting thing that relates to that concern, that discourse.
So how would understanding taxes help marginalized people?
Mm. How would understanding taxes help marginalized communities? Oh man, oh man, whoa, what a question! What a question! I think that's a great question. The biggest way I can answer that without going on the soapbox is just learning taxes. Well, taxes, it's the financial language. Well, accounting is the financial language of society. And taxes is a part of accounting that tells you the language of community investment. And just as it's important to learn how to vote, and it's important to know that you have freedom of speech. It is also important that you know how to community invest. You need to know how to file your taxes. And learning taxes is the neglected 25% of what it means to be a citizen in America. When Black people were not citizens, when they were 3/5 of a perfect person, they didn't. They might have paid some sales tax, but they didn't. They not just like they didn't have to vote. Taxes was something that wasn't a consideration for somebody that's well. If you're not a citizen, or if you're not, you still have to file your taxes. But they still want to tax you. But it was something where it's positioned for Black people to not gain advantage. People don't want you have to be literate to file your taxes. People don't they didn't want us to be community investors. And the quicker we learn what's happening with our community investment, what's happening with the tax system that we're all investing in as a community to bring things back to ourselves, the quicker we learn what that system is and how we are benefiting from that system, the faster we decide, okay, we don't like that politician, or hey, we don't like this person. Well, one way to think about the tax system is like a human body. A lot of times you go to the doctor and you get a checkup, and they say, okay, in your heart, you get this and that, and you go to the doctor, you get a checkup. Well, the tax system works in the same way. There's a body, and they give you credits and they give you deductions, and in the same way you pay your taxes and you get certain credits and deductions. And it's a checkup on what how you are bringing into the community that you're all sharing, right? And what are the benefits that you're gaining from that? And an analyzation of the tax system gives you a positionality to understand even the tax system like a human body and check it up like a doctor, right? What are we gaining from this? What's good? What's bad in terms of my rationale? So once Black people get involved with the tax system, they are going to be that much more active as a citizen. They're going to be that much more active in the protests because they know how to position themselves on how on the conversation of community investment. So
Okay. Well, a comment came in here and it said the comment is no matter what the tax bracket is for the 1%, they still have loopholes to avoid paying their fair share. So now, okay, so that was a comment. I see your eyeballs, so
it's true.
really comment on it. But now that's one thing that I think, well, as middle class people especially, that we should know all of these loopholes. You know what I mean? Because when you look up and you see this major corporation or this person who is a 1%er not paying any taxes because they know these loopholes, so to speak. Now, when you talk about educating people, uh, middle class people, or people of lower income who have to still, like you say, everybody's got to pay taxes. Just think if you knew the loopholes. You know what I'm saying? That's you know. So do you?
I mean,
do you,
I agree.
do you?
And when go ahead, I'm sorry. Did you have a question with it?
Yeah. Do you look for? Do you know loopholes? Do you look for loopholes?
You're funny. I do. Do I know loopholes? I'm more certain than somebody who hasn't studied the tax system about positions. Because the thing is, you have to know the language. Once you
Okay.
know the language, you can be more confident in how you position yourself in the tax system. And the way I would say it, I don't necessarily know loopholes, but I know certain parts of the tax system where I can feel more confident that and then others to position themselves.
Okay.
And that is how people even learn loopholes. What they call loopholes, even it's just ways that you can position yourself confidently where you can decide, okay, I this is for me. If that part of the tax system is actually for me, a lot of people just are uncertain of their tax position.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I know you're now. You told me about your nonprofit, and I want to put it here so people can see it. And it's called Gambit, correct?
Correct.
Now, how do they? If people want to donate, how do they do that? Can they do that yet? Is it official nonprofit yet, or can people donate, or what?
Right. It is. You know what? We haven't. We have a board of directors and everything, but we haven't gotten the designation by the IRS, and so
Okay.
that's something that is still it's still in development. We do have a Facebook page. I mean, an
Okay.
Instagram page. We have an Instagram.
So
It's
what's your
called
okay, go ahead. I'm
yeah.
gonna
The
really
Instagram is called Gambit Chicago, and you could definitely reach out to Gambit Chicago if you just interested in the story or you want to and we're also looking for people who know how to file the not-for-profit designation. We're looking for lawyers. We are positioning ourselves try to get that file. So also, if you have some advice, you have anything that you can help with a story that you see is inspiring, I would love to hear from you. So thank you for just being interested.
So did I put that down there right? Or can you see it?
I can't see it.
Oh, it says at Gambit Chicago. Or should I
Oh,
put
this
more?
that works. That works. Yes, that works
That
perfectly.
first? Okay, at
Mhm.
Gambit Chicago. Okay, so but still, even though you're not an official nonprofit yet, people
Mhm.
can still donate. They just can't write it off.
Right, right. Yeah. And I think we do also have a website, and that website can even be found. That website can even be found on our Instagram page. So if you
Okay,
see it there, you might be able to see it. If you don't see it there now, I think we have an Etsy now. But if you don't see it there now, we will also have a. We actually have an official website we can share as well.
okay, all right. So if I knew how to do that, I would.
Okay, no problem.
I,
In the meantime.
I see that you did put it in the private chat, but since I'm not really techie,
Hmm.
but they just go on Instagram and if they look for Gambit Chicago, they should be able to find it.
Correct.
So now, and if they want to get in contact with you on LinkedIn, so tell me just tell me how to put it in there, and I put it also along the lower third.
LinkedIn. I want to just tell people,
Just
this is
look for
your life. This is your story. This is your story. And you making it every day, and you just got to show up to the moment of your life and your story. And um, sometimes LinkedIn allows you to just be more interested in the people that you meet in your story. And so just feel free to meet me and connect with me as somebody that you position yourself to know in your story that you're taking for the rest of your life. This is the rest of your life. These are the pages. So feel free to add me. I just added that to the chat, but I hope people embrace
Well, I put on here, look for Joseph Olalusi on LinkedIn.
that.
Okay. Yeah, I know you probably can't see it, but they can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, they can see it. It's in
Oh
big
yeah, I see it. It say look for Joseph Lucy on
on
LinkedIn. Yeah.
LinkedIn. Yes, big letters, and then at Gambit Chicago on
Oh
Instagram.
yeah, that's heavy.
Okay, so
The professionalism right there. That's great. We on the news.
we we try.
Mhm.
But Joseph, this has been a pleasure. It's I and let me tell you, audience, I've been trying to get Joseph Olalusi on this show for so long.
You're funny.
And he finally took time out of his busy schedule to honor us with his presence. Joseph, I want to thank you so much for being here, and you gave us so much great information. And I mean, you really have educated me. You really have, and I know you've educated my audience. And so here is Miss Aline Monique. She sends you 2 hearts.
Thank you, Miss
And
Elaine.
Brandy Johnson says
Thank
she
you,
loves
Brandy.
this. And Sandy Barney
B
Ennis
Sandy.
says good information. So, Joseph, it has been a plum, as they used to say, a plum pleasing pleasure. So, take care, and you have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Miss Foreman.
All right. All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
That has been so informative and such valuable information. And you learn so much just from different people and just from all the relationships you have. So I want you to think about the relationships that you have and how much information, how much you can learn from your relationships, personal and professional, and what they can learn from you. So I'm going to see you again next week, where I will have another guest who is going to just fill us with so much value. And until then, this is Janice, Dr. Janice Hooker Fortman, saying, have a beautiful, blessed rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Now for my shameless plug.